Just a quick reminder before we jump into the review, make sure you follow my ASMR TikTok right here. I post videos about movies, recommendations, chat and choose, horror stories, ASMR movie fun facts, ASMR in movies, a lot of segments, and I know my upload schedule on YouTube has been a little bit thinner as opposed to the past, but I'm posting daily. I try to on TikTok, so follow me there. But without further ado, let's get into the review. Welcome, fellow cinephiles, film enthusiasts, and relaxation seekers. My name is Cinephile ASMR, and today we are talking about Thor Love and Thunder. After going on a slew of adventures spanning the galaxy with the Guardians, Thor finds himself lost, so he decides to take a bit of a peaceful, introspective quest. But things suddenly get interrupted when a new villain named Gore the God Butcher puts his title to the test by swearing to rid the entire world of the gods so high and mighty. So Thor takes it upon himself to team up with Korg, King Valkyrie, and the new Jane Foster as the mighty Thor to take him down. So ultimately, I felt that Phase 4 has been a very interesting experiment within the iconography of the MCU. It has been a wild roller coaster spanning many different visionaries, stories, and ideas put to the test. And personally, it has been my favorite phase of them all, not just for the stories being told, but the imagination and the creativity that each of them have had. For so long, I felt the MCU has been weighed down by trying to be the same in every movie, regardless of the filmmaker. So to my surprise, when I was stepping into this new chapter of Phase 4, whether it be the Disney Plus shows or the movies, I was so happy that all of them were very diverse and starkly different. That being said, Thor has never been my favorite Marvel character. His movies have been fun. The first Thor film I've grown on a lot. As this Shakespearean epic, it felt so godlike and grounded, while also being so massive in its scope. And the second, with Ragnarok as well, have been a bit of an interesting journey for me to go on. When I first saw Ragnarok, I loved it. I was head over heels, but I felt like the comedy sort of weighed the dramatic moments down. Odin passing is a massive character milestone for Thor, and I felt like it was immediately drowned out by the Taika Waititi-isms. I love the man. I think Jojo Rabbit is one of the greatest mixes of comedy and drama in a movie I've ever seen. So stepping into this, I was cautiously optimistic. I wanted a good time. And I'm going to say, Thor Love and Thunder is the first Marvel movie in a very long time that I was massively disappointed with. I should have known right off the bat, with this being the shortest MCU film. And of course, I don't have any issue with short films or shorter films in the pantheon of comic book movies. Sam Raimi is the master at condensing a story to the necessities while also indulging in the pleasantries of character. But that's just it. It requires a visionary with a locked vision. And I felt like where Thor Love and Thunder failed was within keeping a streamlined vision. To me, this felt like Taika Waititi cashing in on $250 million to get with his friends, to riff, ad-lib one line, make off the script. And while that works in some cases, when you are still trying to build a universe and there is a lot of things you are introducing, with especially the biggest difference being that Thor Ragnarok committed fully to comedy, minus a couple elements. This movie really tries to incorporate a lot of honest, really heartfelt themes, but it doesn't mesh well at all. There is good, 100% there is. Chris Hemsworth as the mighty Thor will forever go down with RDJ, Chris Evans as the character to portray Thor. I loved him. And really, he is comedic gold, and it wasn't until Taika Waititi sort of unleashed that side of him, which really put it into perspective. But this movie, man, I really wanted to love it. And the first few minutes, I was into it. It introduces gore in a very unique way, and it sets things up. To put it kind of in a simple term, when I got out of the theater, I reviewed this on Letterboxd, and the rating, I will admit, was a bit harsh, but I said it as if, what is the point of laying and planting really fascinating seeds if nothing ever sprouts of it? And that's what I can say about this entire movie. There's a lot of ideas, the way that they go about Jane's story, Gore's story, Valkyrie's story, heck, even Korg's story, along with Thor kind of being the umbrella of it all, is really great. And this felt like the Taika Waititi who I fell in love with Jojo Rabbit and so many of his other projects outside of the Marvel pantheon. But it really came down to the fact that I felt he just wanted to make a full-blown comedy, and that's where I feel this movie suffers the worst. There was something about this movie, as I was watching it, as the title character himself is either the butt of every joke, or a majority of the lines he says ends with a quip, that it made me kind of sad, melancholic almost, that what starts off as this naive king who indulges himself on the status that his family has bestowed upon him, learning what human life matters, and sacrificing himself and his abilities for those that don't have his strength, to being now just a joke machine. And that's of course my opinion. I know a lot of people love the way that Taika Waititi has taken this character, but I just felt it was a bit of a disservice to what the preceding directors before Waititi and the visionaries and the ideas in the comics have created Thor as. Don't get me wrong, he loves to joke, he's this bumbling idiot at times, but I felt like the Thor that was started and carried into the Dark World but sort of lost its way with Ragnarok, and I wouldn't even say it carries what Ragnarok does, more as just sidelining it and going on a detour. It really made me sad, and I love the stuff with Jane and Thor, but it's so few and far between. This movie tries to rush from A to B, never really immersing the audience or letting you indulge or consume the scenes with the heart that it has. And there's a lot of undertones and subtext which really could be discussed and just immersed. Having Taika Waititi's kids, Chris Hemsworth's kids, Christian Bale's kids, all of this felt so close-knit. And Taika is a great director, but having a few days to think on it and sit on it, I don't know. I can't help but feel this is the first time that he was doing it for the paycheck to cash in on the money that Marvel gave him. I will never say that making a movie is something that you can possibly sleepwalk in as a director. It takes a village, an entire city to sculpt a film. But this has made me discover one of the biggest issues about Marvel, which will forever leave a bad taste pertaining to this movie. And it really speaks to the one single greatest issue I have with this movie. Again, there is some good. I love the relationship and chemistry between Jane and Thor. I think the screen presence that Gore has on screen, with Christian Bale being in makeup and not covered in CGI, is phenomenal. He's not in it enough. And I do think a lot of the comedy does work. And the emotional subtext, wow, it could have been wonderful. But the one issue that I keep thinking about over and over and over, which I think this movie is going to be the spearheader of when I think about it, and this issue that speaks on behalf of Marvel and studio filmmaking, is crunch time. This movie has caused a lot of people who have worked with Marvel and in the industry to speak out about the total mistreatment that they face, the hours, the time that they have to spend sacrificing their lives, the milestones within themselves and their family for the crunch. And Marvel gets away with it because they are the biggest studio. Disney is the biggest studio in the entire world. So who dare contest them? And as it's gotten bigger and bigger, the hours have gotten harder and more rigorous. And I think to the average audience goer, in a film like this, Thor Love and Thunder, which is one of the most expensive Marvel projects, which coincidentally also looks like one of the worst, you're automatically going to target the VFX artist, but it's not their fault. And they're going to have to face the brunt, and the people that have put them in those positions aren't going to say anything to help them. They're going to let them drown. And it really is disgusting because there is moments in this film, in this almost $250 million film, where I was gobsmacked, shocked, absolutely mind blown as to how the rendering for some of the CGI, particularly with Jane's helmet and the volume, which is this technology that the Batman and the Mandalorian work so well with, just did not merge well with and mesh well with the actors on screen. I was blown away, and at first I was like, what's going on? But I felt like there was something going on behind the scenes that we didn't even know. And sure enough, there was. The crunch, the hours, the last minute input that they have to work with. God, I couldn't imagine. And I think overall, my disappointment for this movie lands within what it says about studio filmmaking. It's going to make its money back. It's going to make a profit. It's going to have a fifth film. And that's a shame. And I'm not saying I don't want it to. Of course, I would like for a different director maybe and a different idea to be brought into fruition, because by the end of it, I felt like I was just eating nothing. In fact, I felt like I was eating disposable nothing. I wish sometimes, and this might sound very naive of me, I sometimes wish there was a film that was bad, then sometimes just pure meh. But there is bad in this movie, and unfortunately, it far outweighs the good and the pros that hit this film. I think these are made with well intentions, but the studio that takes control of it by the end needs to start doing things differently. I'm a Marvel fan till I die, and I will be. I owe them my life. But I don't think I can possibly support a studio, a company, a brand, knowing that so many people are sacrificing their own mental health for a job, and if they speak out, they're chopped. Like, Marvel's so massive that they can market themselves to being a place that you can get hired in, but they don't care about you if they're going to put you through these hours. And I know I'm going off tangent here, but it's been something that I've been thinking about, and as the articles have come out, as Taika Waititi and the actors have kind of sort of slyly bashed VFX artists and kind of taken shots at them, and I'm like, this is your movie, guys. It's a weird catch-22. I love art, and I want it to be uplifted at any means possible, and I'm not saying $100+ million budget films and the $50,000 art house film cannot be art, one over the other. It all is. And I owe each of those avenues, my entire being. But I support the workplace environment that is conducive of love, support, and uplifting the creatives instead of bashing them down and feeling like they are nothing without it. And that's simply a problem. And on top of that, I feel not only with the crunch, but also the fact that this movie was marketed from the moment it was announced at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019 as this very genre-pushing film, so inclusive and queer-affirming within the LGBTQ+ community. And it was marketed like this even up until the weeks that it was releasing. But this is so lukewarm with its representation, truthfully. And as much as I love the film, I'm putting my bias aside. Eternals does so much better at representing the communities that need to be represented than a film that was marketed overtly as a gay film. And it barely is in it, whether within the peripheral or in passing conversation. It is muddied at best, and it does come down to the fact that I know a lot of scenes were cut because it was trying to be more child-friendly, but it's not an excuse. When you market a film as the director and the actors as a film that is pushing the envelope for what massive studio films are within inclusivity, and you barely get anything, that's a problem, and it just frustrates me. Then I guess that's ultimately the tagline of Thor Love and Thunder: missed potential that perpetuates frustration. At the end of the day, there was things that I enjoyed about Thor Love and Thunder. There's things that I actually found to be fun. The set pieces were great. The imagery was eye-popping when you could actually hold on to it, which was few and far between. The actors are good. None of them are bad. But with terrible CGI, crunch time from the studio that is egregious, from a villain that could have been amazing but is watered down by minimal screen time, under 2-hour runtime, which never makes you fully immerse yourself in any scene, cuts the heart for the humor. And now I think Marvel's at this stage where it's putting out quantity over quality. This movie is conducive and really makes me feel kind of gross. Like, it's going to make so much money. It already has. And it's going to feel like it's okay to keep doing these things because we speak with our wallets. I don't know. I know this was a bit less of a structured video, and I'm sorry about that. I wish I could tell you that you need to go see this film. And of course, to formulate your opinion, go check it out. But also keep in mind that when you see something evidently for face value from a movie that doesn't look good, know that there are so many people that tried their best to do it. And I think if I can make things, because I like to take it in a positive light, no matter whether it be Morbius or, gosh, the Batman, I want you to all know of a positive thing, and that is to go into any movie, not just Love and Thunder, not just anything, but everything, with knowing that nobody makes art with negative intentions. It's always putting effort into it. So please don't one-sidedly look at a movie like Thor Love and Thunder and think to yourself, man, this is ugly, this sucks, VFX artists suck. No, look at it as, man, I can't believe what they're going through, or man, there must be so much more to the story. I really do wish I could love Thor Love and Thunder, but with all that being said, I'm gonna give it a C-. Again, I'm sorry for how kind of messy this video was. I've been trying to write about it for a while, but I just felt like these thoughts and what it really speaks to the umbrella of studio filmmaking needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, this movie really was the thing that kind of made me realize I need to say something about it. But as always, let me know what you thought about Thor Love and Thunder. I very much plan on making an MCU ranking down the line. It'll be out shortly. I've been very busy with school, life, work. I'm trying my best though. I love you all so much. I know I'm gonna try and upload as much as I can, but again, please follow my TikTok. That's where I put so much of my other efforts. So I can't wait to keep growing this community with you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, remember to take life